Hey, welcome back to Buckets and Bibles. So, I haven't shot a video in a while, so I wanted to shoot a video today. And I wanted to talk about unreasonable expectations. Because I see, hey, leave it. Because, stand by. Hang that up right there for now. Because I see there's a lot of that going on in the world today. And kind of what I mean by that is, sorry about the dog barking. What I mean by that is that there's a lot of stuff when you're dealing with people, whether it's on a job site, your own house, in the office, in a fellowship. There's people, and I think it's become I think it's gotten worse probably over the last 15 years because people are glued to their phone and communications went into less face-to-face and more via text or email. And I think that for me, text isn't good commo. Is it a way to communicate? Yes. If I need to talk to somebody about something important, a text message is a really weak way to commo, for more than one reason. They may misinterpret, geez Louise, those words are hard, what I'm saying in a text message because they can't hear my voice tone, they can't read my body language, or they misinterpret because it sounds a certain way in their head. They may hear it in a positive way or in a negative way, and either one of those could be wrong. Sometimes I need somebody to hear me and hear the passion in my voice, or the aggression in my voice, or the sadness in my voice when I make a comment. And I think that it's been a lot harder because people don't talk as much. People don't get to know each other as much because everybody's so busy, everything's moving so fast. Just shoot a text and that's check-in, right? And that's like, for me, I'm a little more of an extrovert because I need the interaction with people, and I need to see like their facial expression. And although I can communicate via text or like in the when we're doing live chats, face to face for me is very personable. It's very important. I can read your body language. If you're full of shit, I can hear your voice tone. If you've got hurt or anger, I can watch your eye movement when I ask you a question. If you look away, there's a lot of tall tales in person. And at a minimum for me is I want to talk on the phone. I want to hear your voice tone. I want to hear where you're going with things. And I see this over time, that people will get crazy. They'll say whatever in a text, but they'll get crazy over the phone, but not in person. Yeah, people will they'll get mouthy over the phone, but they won't do it in person. They'll say all this stuff, but they won't say it in front of people. And for me, I think that we got to have courage in like what we say and what we do. And, if you're holding something back, figure out a way to unpack it that's an appropriate way to communicate. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that will go a lot further with people, because even if you're wrong, they're going to at least know where you're at. They're going to know where your head's at, versus holding all the stuff in and then it coming out sideways inappropriately. Or inappropriately. And I think for me, it happens a lot in husband and wife stuff, especially early on in a relationship, because you come into it with baggage from past relationships. If you went that route, which most people do, or you come in it with preconceived ideas of what you hoped or thought or expected it to be like. And all of those things are not bad unless they're not clearly communicated. If you go into an agreement with somebody and you have no idea of the terms of the agreement or the details of the agreement, there's no small print to figure out where's the loopholes, where's the catch, what is this thing going to look like if this happens. Like when you have to finance a house or a car, there's small print saying, hey, if you do these things, it's not going to go well for you, or it's going to go well for you. If you do this, then we're going to take the house. So there's details that you got to get. And I think that a lot of commo nowadays has really been watered down to the point where we don't clearly communicate because people are afraid of conflict. And there's a healthy aspect to that and a healthy and an unhealthy. The unhealthy aspect of holding things back because you're afraid of conflict is there's no growth and there's no clear communication. There's no you're not setting a precedence of expectations or disappointments in something. And so people are left to like either think things are okay or to read into something that's not actually true because you haven't clearly communicated. And then there's the other aspect of it where you can be reserved because in the moment you may have too much emotion and you don't want to react emotionally. And so healthy is I'm not going to say anything now until I can chill out and not do this in an emotional way. Because if you let your emotions override your mouth, it'll get you in trouble. It'll get you in a position where you can damage relationships, and sometimes they can't be fixed. But I'm saying all this because it's super important if we have feelings or thoughts about somebody or a situation that we figure out a way to voice those things, that we don't hold those things back and stuff them. Because if you do that and you practice doing that, then what you're doing is you're bottling up all that thought without clearly communicating it. And I'm not talking about every little thing that crosses your mind you need to like say, because there's fleeting thoughts where, like I went a little left with my train of thought, but I know that's not reality. I don't need to bring that up to somebody, right? When it starts replaying in your head though, when every time you see somebody, it strikes that feeling inside of you, that's when you start getting into the resentment part of stuff. And you can't live with resentment. You can't hold grudges against people and be comfortable in your own skin and be in the spirit. It separates. The word even talks about if you have something against your brother, don't bring your offering until you've gone and cleared that shit up. And that's the thing is I think people don't do that enough today because they're afraid of conflict. They're afraid of offending somebody. It's better to offend somebody and work through that offense and work through your fears and work and like I'll tell you like this, like I have put my foot in my mouth and said some shit and I was in the wrong, but I'm really glad that I said it because what it did is it made me and this other person work through some stuff and it caused us to be closer. The way that I approached it was inappropriate. The thought process behind it wasn't like trying to clearly communicate. I just hadn't unpacked it enough yet. And so all of it's a learned behavior. If you learn to stuff your feelings and stuff your thoughts, or you see something and you never say nothing about it, or you let it build up in you and you keep adding to the database, it's going to come out funky. It's going to come out sideways. It's going to come out at the wrong time. But if you deal with those as they come up and you practice dealing with those as they come up, it may be uncomfortable and you may look like a douchebag. But I'm going to tell you right now, a clear conscience makes for a softer pillow. If I've really been honest and intent with what I say, what I'm trying to say is it's meaningful. I'm not just talking out of my neck or off of emotion. If I'm doing these things, then there's a reason that you get a byproduct from that. And the byproduct that I get from it when I practice it And I'm by no means perfect at any of this stuff. It's just tools that I've learned along the way. Is that if I've got stuff that I need to say, like to my wife or to my kids or to my boss or to an employee, to a customer, and I haven't said it, I don't have rest. I don't have shalom. And so it's super important that I say, hey, you know what? I was thinking about this. What did you mean by this? Or is there an issue here? Because if there is, I want to address it, because I don't want to leave it in limbo. There was something you said that I wasn't really sure about. What did you mean by this? And then let it unfold, because if it's something that's not okay with you, at least you can clearly, and not let it rent space. You're healthily communicating openly, like there's things that are okay and not okay. But when you bottle that, for me, if I stuff it, what ends up happening is some poor schmuck that cuts me off when I'm driving is now getting, pit maneuvered on the side of the highway, and then, I'm throwing a freaking tire iron in his head, because he freaking got too close to me or something. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it'll come out sideways. And so like anger management, expectation management, trust management, these are all products of not self-sabotaging. And by not self-sabotaging, it means that you have to be on your A game on how to commo. And commo isn't just a quick text. It's more personable than that. And I think the world has made it where that's an acceptable form, but it's not. It's weak, and it doesn't do anybody any justice, because like I said in the beginning, you can't read anybody's postures. You can't read their eye movement. You can't read their body language, their voice tone. If they're looking away from you when you ask them a direct question, you can't tell what's going on with them, and they can't read you either, because it goes both ways. And they need to know, like when I'm looking at you in your eyes and I'm like, hey, check it out, like that's not going to cut it for me, right? And that I'm serious and that I mean what I'm saying, and that I'm drawing a line, because you can tell with the way that I'm posturing, the way that I'm positioning myself in the situation, that's a strong spot for me. So you can see that I feel strongly about this. That's easy to read into. That's simple. And then at least but you don't know if you don't try. And people don't try nowadays. They don't really try. They let their feelings and their head get the best of them, and they turn things into something that they don't need to be. And I am guilty of the same thing. I used to think there's like this cool guy club, and I'm not in that club, and they're all talking about me kind of stuff in different circles and times of my life. And 99% of that was just in my head. That's not really how things worked. That's not how it was. And I paid for that emotionally and mentally and spiritually, because I didn't deal with it well, and I didn't speak my mind. I didn't ask questions, because it's different if somebody lies to your face and they're like, no, I totally didn't mean that. And then behind their back, they're doing the same exact thing, because then you get to know who their character is, because you've asked them directly. You've gave them an opportunity, and I'm not the easiest to approach dude. So I have to be very mindful when I can tell something's on somebody's mind. I have to give them the opportunity and then listen. And even if they're wrong, even if what they're saying is pissing me off, I have to be patient and not let any of that show, and just listen and let them come all the way around. And then when it's time, not unload on them, but clearly communicate certain stuff, or say, hey, listen, I've heard everything you said. Let me pray about it. Let me think about it, so that I don't react. And there's so much fruit in patience and endurance and perseverance and long suffering with a brother, because like sometimes long suffering with a brother means you're putting up with his bullshit when he's fucking up, but he don't see it, or you don't want to see it. And I love people. I generally love people. There's people that if I won the lotto, I'd spend it all helping people. That's my get down. And then I'd probably be in the same situation I'm in now, because that's my heart. Because I love people. I want to do for people. I have a servant's heart. It's not something that I made. It's not something I'm trying to claim because it makes me something. People have it. Some people have it way better than I do. But for me, serving people that I love is important to me. And I get caught up in life. Sorry, I'm super thirsty. I get caught up in life and really busy, and I forget to be intentional with my time and reach out to people and go and spend time with people and with intention, you know, and like do things with them, long suffer with them, because that stuff's super important because it builds the context that you need. If you don't like stick it out with somebody through a tough time, if you don't stick it out with somebody through a financial hardship, through a breakup, through a funky area in their marriage, through raising kids, through you know, health issues, if you don't like tough it out with people and you don't have any context, it takes a really long time to build it. It could take 5 or 10 years to build context just because at that time you've built up enough. But if you're more interactive with people, which, you know, some people got bandwidth for that and some people don't, it is what it is. It's not, nobody's right or wrong. It's just everybody's a little different. If you can spend time with people while you can and build context, it makes all of that so much better because they get to know your character. You get to know their character. You know when they're serious, when they're not serious, when they're happy, when they're not happy. Like there's a lot there. So if you get anything out of this video, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But the main purpose of this is that I think that communication, clear communication, is super duper important. And it isn't the same as it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was like, hey, we need to get together and have a talk. Nowadays, it's like shoot them a text and let them know what's up. It's not the same thing. It's not good commo. That's not where it's at. And then also people not communicating well because of the system, you know. The way that society's kind of shifted things, the way that we commo isn't the way we used to commo, and I think it causes more conflict than it does resolution. So anyhow, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you.